I always tell people anytime that people serve is a lot of time, even a day, that's a lot of time. And with you, it's 40 years. How old are you? You're 20. Have a chance when you are released to live your life. But there's somebody who's dead and their life is over. You understand? Record, how old are you? 21. All right, so 30 years, that's a lot of time. These people are alleged to have been committed in this court. It could be offenses that people think are the worst of the worst. I still see everybody as a human being. It's a lot of time, right? And you have to do half before you're eligible. You're gonna be older when you are released from prison. But guess what? At the end of the day, you're still alive. It's not the end of the world for you, right? Defense, do you rest?
Yes.
State, do you close?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, do you close?
Yes.
All right. As previously stated, the court is finding the enhancements true. And the court is finding the enhancements true that were read into the record for count one, and also the enhancements true that were read into the record for count two. The court will hear argument with regards to sentencing. Mr. Nicholson, you are not eligible for probation from the court. All right.
Yes, Your Honor. The state would like the court to consider state's exhibits 39 and 40, which was entered in the guilt phase of trial. That's going to be the judgment from Austin for the conviction of assault enhanced, and additionally the fingerprint card that was linked to that judgment in the guilt phase of trial. Your Honor, this defendant does have a very lengthy and violent criminal history. In 1996, he was sentenced to 20 years for aggravated robbery. That's going to be cause number ending in 60 that we entered in today. He was additionally sentenced for burglary of a habitation on that same day. That's going to be cause number ending in 59 that was entered into evidence today as part of State's Exhibit B. State's Exhibit A. Your Honor, he was sentenced in 1996 to 20 years in the Texas Department of Corrections for those crimes. When he was released, it was not very much longer until 2013 that he committed the offense in State's Exhibit 39 for assault enhanced, where he was convicted and sentenced to 6 years. So in 2019, after their 5 years are done, it took him only 3 years to commit this offense, this violent offense, where he shot at an unarmed Uber driver who just happened to be picking up his stepdaughter so that she could go to work. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in this offense, but that's just luck, Your Honor. The capacity for this defendant to hurt people in this community and to hurt his family is shown by the criminal history, and the state is asking that the court sentence the defendant to no less than 40 years on count one and no less than 20 years on count two.
All right. So here's the court's question. And I know that you still have your chance for argument, but I'm reviewing the state's notice of intent to use the two priors.
Yes, sir.
And the judgment that's been given to the court in State's Exhibit number A, that judgment is for 94 CR 5960, which you have notice of.
Yes.
And then I have another judgment for 94 CR 5959.
Yes, sir. That is not part of the enhancement. That is just part of his criminal history, and that was provided to defense via e-discovery.
No, what I'm saying is if there is a judgment for D1, DC 12, that one?
Yes, Your Honor.
The court is not in receipt of that.
Your Honor, and that was part of the evidence that was entered in at trial.
All right, if we could have that given to the court, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Cindy, do you have that one?
I would have turned it in already.
Okay.
No, I may have it in my, let me go check in my office.
All right, I just want to make sure that the numbers are matching up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me just check.
All right, thank you.
Recall her.
All right, if you all want to have a seat, I just need to get that document so I can look at it. The trial, and the court requested it so that the court could review the cause number that's in that document with the cause number that is in the state's motion to enhance. So if everyone will just give me a moment to review that. All right, the court is in receipt of it. All right, Defense?
Thank you, Judge. I know that we've heard about his criminal history and the seriousness of it. I did want to offer some context to that, which starts with the fact that the first offense, that for which he did the 20 years, he was actually age 16 when that happened. And he was certified as an adult and sentenced, and he ended up doing most of the time. He really lost so many of his formative years at doing that time, right? And then he gets released and is having trouble and has continued to have trouble adjusting. And the second case, the family violence assault case, he pled to, and he acknowledges, and I'm not saying he doesn't acknowledge the first case, but he does ask, and we do ask the judge to consider how young he was at that time. I have had contact with two of his family members, siblings, who are not able to be here today. One was a Mr. Paxton and another is a sister, Samantha Romborg. And if I may, they both relate to me the chaotic and troubled childhood that they had, and how, in spite of what you see here today, that Mr. Nicholson was actually a loving and caring brother.
I'm sorry, do you want those witnesses here?
No, I think we discuss it. I
No
would be-
objections from the state.
Okay.
That their father was a drug addict, and all the children in the family suffered tremendously, and that Dominic felt an enormous responsibility to try to provide for his siblings, which led him to make very poor choices to accomplish that goal, but that his actual motivation, I mean, and led him into down a criminal path. Which I guess partly was role modeled by his father, but also his sense of duty and obligation to his siblings, and having very limited ability and resources to provide for them, and his overwhelming sense that he should try to provide for them really hindered his thinking, and obviously has made extremely poor judgments. I know we stand here today, the jury heard the evidence and returned their verdict. But Mr. Nicholson believes that he can return to society and be rehabilitated. This has been a long revolving door in his life that he is very tired of. And so we would ask the court to please sentence him at the minimum range.
All right, state any final closing argument?
Your Honor, the state does appreciate that Mr. Nicholson was young when he committed the first offenses. However, I think that just speaks to his values as prior life, and although the hopes for change are there, according to defense counsel, his actions speak louder than his words, and the court would like, the state would like the court to consider those actions, the harm that he could have caused on October 20th, 2022, and the harm that he has caused throughout his life.
All right. Is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Here's the thing, if you want to say something, I'll take you under oath and the state will be allowed to question you. I mean, if you want to discuss it more with your attorney.
Life to be over like this, not being able to say it, but I won't say.
No,
it.
I mean, we can go off the record. Here's the thing. Once you decide to testify, and I think your defense counsel will tell you there are certain appellate issues that may or may not be waived. So it's completely up to you. If you want me to hear what you have to say, I will hear it. What I can tell you with regards to my clients, sometimes they will want to speak, and I would tell them, your family has already told your story. Are you going to say something different than what your family has said? So the state was very generous in allowing your counsel to make a proffer to the court about your childhood.
I understand.
So, but if you would like to say something, it's only fair because I want to be fair to both sides. You don't get to just say something and then that's it. What will end up happening is I will swear you in, you'll be under oath. And if you just want to speak generally to me, you can speak generally. I'm not going to sustain any objections for narrative because sometimes people just want to tell me what their thoughts are and I will listen to them. But that being said, whatever your thoughts are that you want to make sure that I know about, then the state will be allowed to cross-examine. So if that's what you want to do, then we can do that.
I've seen it. I'll hold. Thank you.
All right.
I guess I would say, I know he feels like he's really in the fight for his life here. And,
No, we're not on the record yet. No,
okay.
we're still off the record. Yeah. All right. So y'all ready to proceed? Mhm. All right. We're back on the record. All right. Mr. Nicholson, this is what I want you to know. No matter what offenses people are alleged to have been committed in this court, it could be offenses that people think are the worst of the worst. I still see everybody as a human being. And when I look at them, many a times I see them when they first start school, like first grade. And I always wonder what made this one child turn left instead of going right. Some people have horrible childhoods and they turn out great. They have a horrible childhood and their thing is, I'm not going to be this way. I'm going to be on a straight and narrow because I need to do this and that. Some people can't overcome it. You know, life just beats them down. And sometimes when you watch movies, when we were growing up, we would watch movies and you see these two children and you thinking everything's going to turn out great for them. And there's one pivotal traumatic thing that happens in their life and it gets them off track and they're never able to get it back in. For example, with you, you went to prison, right? People will go to prison and when they get out of prison, they say they're going to do great things. They're not going to get in trouble anymore. They're going to walk the fine line, right? You get out, you say, I'm rehabilitated, and you say, I'm going to get a job. And then when you try to get a job, people look at your history and they say they're not going to give you a job. And so that's one way where society beats you down. And then you keep trying and you keep trying. And then maybe there's a friend who comes along or somebody who comes along and said, hey, here's some easy money. And maybe you have siblings that you're trying to take care of, trying to make sure they don't have to go through what you went through. But at the end of the day, we all got to pay for our offenses, right? Now, do I think that you should get life in prison? No, right? Your minimum is 25 on the first, on count one. It's from 25 up to life in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. All right. This is what the court is going to do. The court is taking in consideration the state's argument about his history, because I have to consider that. But then I'm also taking into consideration what the defense said. And I think everybody would agree for someone to be 16 and to end up being sentenced to 20 years in prison. And I'm assuming he did the 16 when he was at juvenile, but once he became an adult, they sent him to prison with adults. So for a child to end up in prison with adults who have all of their issues, I'm sure they looked at him a certain kind of way. But even though that happens, we can't be in a situation where life has beat us down. So therefore we're going to beat other people down, because then it just becomes a circle. So all of the offenses that you've committed, guess what? That complainant has been traumatized. So there has to be punishment, and you're not eligible for probation. And based upon what I've heard during the trial and based upon what I've heard during this punishment phase, I would not grant you probation, right? Even if you were eligible, because I don't think you're a good candidate for probation. But I also don't think you should spend the rest of your life in prison. All right. So In count one, as previously stated, I'm finding both enhancements true. In count two, I'm finding the enhancement true. In count one, I'm going to sentence you to 30 years in the prison. In count two, I'm going to sentence you to 20 years in the prison. The counts will run concurrently. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon in count one, and there's to be no contact with Jayla Satterwhite. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing from state or the defense? All right, and the court will order affirmative finding of family violence.
And I assume and the court will be giving him credit for all time served.
Yes, and you'll receive credit for any time served that you've been in custody and counsel. If you believe the credit is incorrect, just let the court know. We'll make sure that it's corrected. And for some reason, I do not have the trial court certification. I'm sure you probably filled it out before, but do you mind filling out another one for the court?
Okay.
And she's going to give you a document that's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. You do have a right to appeal because this is a jury trial that occurred. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Your counsel is court appointed, so what will end up happening if she withdraws from your case, a new attorney will be appointed to handle any appellate issues. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, because this is an affirmative finding of family violence, and also because these are felony convictions, and you should know by now, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, do you have any questions about anything?
Just, I didn't hear you. I don't know if you were doing it or not. The fines.
No, fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We can go off the record. So, Mr. Nicholson, I know it's a lot of time, right? And you have to do half before you're eligible. But guess what? At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world for you, right? You're gonna be older when you are released from prison. There's no ends, ifs, or buts about it. But you can still take this time to try to better yourself while you're at the prison. You can still get degrees. Young people who come into prison, if they're not acting crazy, you can probably give them some advice to help them do better and be better. And you're still alive. You can still pick up the phone, call people. You can still write letters to people. Hopefully people will come visit you at the prison. You can still have that. As long as we're alive and breathing, we have the opportunity to change. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So it can still be done. You can still come out and do great things. All right? All right. Good luck to you. We're going to see you back on Tuesday, okay?
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
We're off
Thank
the,
you.
You're welcome.
off the record.
Yes.
Okay, so just a matter of logistics on the appeal.
Yes.
I'd file a motion for new trial and then wait to file the motion to it, because I'm not on the appellate wheel.
Well, what we can do is we can take that up on Tuesday
Okay.
because you'll still have enough time. 30
Okay.
days will not have
Right, right, right.
expired.
I just want to make sure I get it in the right order,
Yes.
because I think there was a particular order on the motion to withdraw and the file.
Yes.
Okay,
All right. Thank you. We'll see you back on Tuesday.
okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Did you understand you're charged with murder? That's a first degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 5 to 99 years or life in prison and up to 10. All right, thank you.
5 to 99 years.
All right. Did you understand the range of punishment for that offense is anywhere from 5 to 99 years or life in prison and up to $10,000 fine? Just a moment. Excuse me, can you move Mr. Hayek and his client to the back row?
And to be sure, Judge, you're probably getting there, but this is.
I am. Yes, I'm getting that. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. All right, did you understand that that is the normal range of punishment for murder? All right, because the state is pleading on a repeat offender enhancement allegation, if that is proven, then your range of punishment will be a minimum of 15 years and up to life in prison and up to $10,000 fine. Did you understand? If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea bargain agreement and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you, and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand? Did you understand? You have in states exhibits 1 and attachments. The court will find there's sufficient evidence and to find you guilty, and the court will find you guilty. The court will find the enhancement true based upon your plea or true and based upon states exhibits 1 and attachments. State, are you ready to proceed with sentencing?
No, Judge, we're asking for a short recess so that we can have our victims here for victim impact.
All right, and can that be done this week?
Yes, Judge.
That you could proceed to sentencing if you wanted to and reschedule the victim impact statement.
That is an option.
Doesn't matter to me either way, Your Honor, but
State,
it seems like it would be the flow of this particular plea colloquy.
Judge, that is fine with us also.
all right. And when will you have your
We're asking for Thursday.
Thursday? All right. So Ms. Ferguson, he's gonna come back on Thursday just for victim impact. All right. Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Just we're asking you to follow the terms of the plea agreement. We believe that it's fair and equitable settlement with the state.
All right, Mr. Hinojosa, is there anything you wish to say? All right, I'm gonna sentence you to 30 years in the prison following your agreement. Taking consideration the following cause numbers. 2020 CR 6547. 9473. 7801. 1784. And the following county court cause numbers: 638. 053, 054, 055, and 052. Court will give you credit for any time served. There's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. Is there anything else from either side with regards to sentencing?
Nothing from defense, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hinojosa, he needs to sign.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand, Mr. Montgomery?
Yes, ma'am.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. Mr. Hinojosa, good luck to you. You're gonna have to do better, okay? All right, so here's my question for you. I always ask this, and people think I don't like tattoos. I just always have questions. So did the skull tattoo hurt? Very painful. Okay. All right, they're gonna take you back, and we're gonna be back on Thursday at 9 a.m. And Mr. Montgomery, if you can be back here Thursday at 9, and we'll do victim impact. All right, thank you. And each cause number ending in 2703 and 2704, you're charged with aggravated robbery. And in each cause number ending in 2530, and both counts, you're charged with aggravated assault. The range of punishment in each of those cause numbers is anywhere from 5 to 99 years or life in prison. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you, and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. In each cause number, after reviewing state's exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the court will find you guilty. Are you proceeding with sentencing?
We are, Your Honor.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Your Honor, we would ask the court go along with the plea bargain as it has been tendered by the state. My client is taking full responsibility of the matter. My understanding is he even has written a letter of apology in the sexual assault case. And so we would ask you to give him credit for all the time served and give him the plea bargain amount.
All right. And the cause number ending in 2703, the court will find you guilty. The court will find there's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. There's to be no contact with Daniel, Laura, and John Albert Elizondo. This will run concurrent with 2023 CR 2704, 2023 CR 2530. Take in consideration 2023 CR 2702 and 2023 CR 2705. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing in that case? And the cause number ending in 2704, court is finding you guilty. Court is finding an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. There's to be no contact with Daniel, Laura, and John Albert Elizondo. Court will sentence you to 30 years in the prison. And I'm sorry, and the cause number ending in 2703, in case I didn't say it, the court has sentenced you to 30 years in the prison and give you credit for any time served. And back in cause number ending in 2704, court is going to sentence you to 30 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. And this is to be concurrent with 2023 CR 2703 2530, taking consideration 2023 CR 2705 and 2702. Is there anything with regards to sentencing under that cause number?
No, Your
And then in cause number ending in 2530, your plea of no contest was to both counts 1 and 2, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then the court will find you guilty in count 1 and count 2. Count 1 and count 2 is to run concurrently. Court will sentence you to 30 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's to be no contact with the complainant. This is to run concurrent with 2023 CR 2704, 2023 CR 2703. There's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon, taking consideration 2023 CR 2705, 2023 CR 2702. There's to be Chapter 62 compliance. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing in that cause number? All right, we can go off the record. How old are you?
21.
All right, so 30 years, that's a lot of time. But do not go to the prison and become institutionalized. Eventually, you'll be released from prison. And if you don't change your ways, it's not going to go well for you in this world. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Did you understand the state is proceeding on the lesser included offense of murder? The range of punishment for that offense is anywhere from 5 to 99 years or life in prison and up to $10,000 fine. If you have a plea with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. If for any reason the court doesn't follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand? Reviewing States Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the court will find you guilty. Are you proceeding with sentencing? All right, anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
The states exhibit 1 into evidence with no objection. Dr. John Fabian, the conclusion of his report after his examination, Mr. Lena he suffers from a tri-diagnosis of brain disorder, mental illness, and substance abuse addiction. And his recommendation is to be placed in the therapeutic unit at TDC. And we would ask the court if the court could include that in the file, and if the court could make a recommendation to the therapeutic unit.
All right, is there anything you wish to say, Mr. Luna? All right, the court will follow the agreement, sentence you to 40 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, taking consideration 2023 CR 1287. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. Is there anything else from either side with regards to sentencing?
Not for the record.
All right, did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it? All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement and because I followed your plea bargain agreement and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, and the court will also request the therapeutic community or mental health community at the prison.
Thank you.
The way that works, I have no jurisdiction to force them to place you in that. you'll have to request it as well, and then it'll be completely up to TDC whether or not they do that. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. Mr. Noonan, I always tell people any time that people serve is a lot of time, even a day. That's a lot of time. And with you, it's 40 years. How old are you? You're 20. And so you will still have a chance when you are released to live your life. All right? But there's somebody who's dead and their life is over. You understand? So you need to take advantage of whatever they have at the prison that's available for you to better yourself. And you need to go to prison and not become institutionalized. Do you understand? All right. Is there any victim impact?
There's two short ones, yes, Your Honor.
All right. So what's going to happen next is there are going to be two people to speak to you, and they are related to the victim in this case. And they are probably going to voice to you how they feel about things. I always require everyone to treat everybody with respect. So just listen to what they have to say and internalize it, okay? All right, thank you. Deputy. From the deputy that a verdict has been reached in this case. This is what I'm going to tell all the parties who are present in this courtroom. There's not to be any outbursts. If there's an outburst, what's going to end up happening is a deputy is going to tap you on the shoulder. There's no need to get into a conversation with the deputy. That tap on the shoulder is meaning that you are to leave this courtroom, and you will only be allowed back in this courtroom if you're going to be a witness. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Is there anyone who cannot do that? So both parties, for the state and the defense, if you need to talk to members who are currently in court that are either with the state or defense, you may do so now. Otherwise, I'm going to bring the jury in.
Everyone knows to be on their best behavior, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring the jurors in.
All right, for the jury.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding that you've reached a verdict in this case. Is that correct? And is that verdict unanimous? All right, if you will give the verdict form to Deputy Laura, please. All right, if the defendant could please stand. We, the jury, find the defendant, Tamar McIntyre, not guilty of the offense of capital murder. What did I, excuse me, no. No, out of the courtroom, out of the courtroom now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you don't ignore that. Sometimes, as you can tell, people are invested, correct? So it says, we, the jury, find the defendant, Tamar McIntyre, not guilty of the offense of capital murder as charged in the indictment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Tamar McIntyre, guilty of the lesser included offense of murder. Does anyone wish to have the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and do you want them polled as to both counts?
As to the count of conviction.
All right, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you if, in count 2, the guilty verdict for murder, if that is your verdict. If that is your verdict, I'm going to need you to respond yes. Does everyone understand? So we'll start on this end and work our way down. Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yeah.
Is this your verdict?
Yeah.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Oh, yes. All right. Back row. Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going to happen now is I'm going to allow you all to have your recess for lunch, and then we'll begin the second phase of the trial. All right, everyone, please rise for the jury.
How old are you?
27.
And do you know Tamar McIntyre?
Yes, sir.
How do you know him?
That's my brother.
Is he your older brother, younger brother?
Younger.
How many years separate you two?
A year and a half to 2 years. It depends on when our birthday falls.
Okay. I want to ask you a little bit about your childhood and Tamar's. Could you tell us a little bit about your early childhood?
We were taken from our mom by CPS, and we had to live in foster homes and bounced around a lot.
How old were you when you were taken from your mother?
I believe I was 5.
5. So Tamar would have been how old?
Um, well, I believe that Tamar was 5 and I was about 7.
Okay, gotcha. Before that, um, did, did both your parents live in the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that stop at some point? You said just you were taken from your mom.
Yes, my dad was incarcerated for domestic violence against my mom.
Okay. Do you know anything about that incident? Do you remember it?
I remember seeing my mom after, like injured.
Tell us about that. Tell us about it.
Um, I just remember seeing our mom afterwards. She was injured really bad after she was hospitalized. Just stuff like that.
Was Tamor around for that?
Yes, sir.
Uh, and you said your father was incarcerated. Do you know if he went to prison for it?
Yes.
Okay. And so after he went to prison, did you all stay with your mother for some period of time, or did CPS get involved immediately?
For some time, maybe a couple of years, 1 or 2 years or something like that.
Just living with your mama?
Yes, sir.
What was that like?
We um we moved around a lot kind of. I think she was trying to find stability, but didn't have a lot of help.
Okay. Um, so you mentioned that eventually Child Protective Services got involved.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us more about that? What happened there?
Um, one day they came and they took us from our mom, and we fought with them and cried. And um, sorry. Um, then they put us in a orphanage.
Okay. And you said that this was a couple years after your dad was locked up.
You can proceed.
If you need a moment, that's okay.
Thank you.
So how old do you think you were when you went to the orphanage?
Um, I think Tamar was 5 and I was about 7. That's when they took us from our mom.
When they took you from your mom? Okay. And was that orphanage in Texas or was that someplace else?
It was in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Do you remember the name of the orphanage?
Child Haven.
Child Haven?
Yes, sir.
And describe to the jury what Child Haven was like.
Um, it was like it was buildings, like different buildings in a property that was gated, and like the different buildings hold different kids of different ages. So me and Tamar were separated at that place for some time, and we were allowed to get visitation with each other, but we couldn't leave there. We went to school there, we ate there, bathed there, and sleep there. And sometimes we get visits. I think we got a visit one time.
Kind of sounds like a jail. Is that fair or is it not like that at all?
Yes, it was. It's like a jail.
Um, how long were you there?
Um, as a kid, I didn't understand time, so it felt like a year, but it might have been like 6 months or something like that, close to a year.
You're not really sure, but
No, I'm not
that's what
sure.
it felt like, I guess.
Yeah, it felt like a year.
Um, what happened to get you out of the orphanage?
Um, they placed us in a foster home. They found a foster home for us
Where was that?
in Las Vegas, Nevada, in a neighborhood, low income neighborhood.
And you and Tamor were placed together in the same home?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like living in the foster home?
Um, we weren't happy, so um, it was sad. We just wanted to go home.
Did you have any contact with your parents?
No,
Did you know what had happened to your parents?
no, it was times we didn't even know if our mom was still living.
How long were you living with that foster? Was it a family or was it a single person? Do you know?
It was I believe she was married and eventually her husband passed away, but it was a married woman.
And what was daily life like with her?
Um, if it was during the year, then we go to school and we come back after school. If no extracurricular activities, and if it wasn't during the year, then we have to be in her home at all times, not allowed to ever leave.
You couldn't leave her property?
No,
Tamor too, or just you?
neither one of us, Tamer either.
What happened if you tried to argue with her about that?
She didn't allow it, and we were young, so we didn't, we just did.
Do you feel like you were provided for there?
Um, Provided for because we ate every day and had a place to stay. So yeah,
What about your emotional needs?
no, not at all.
How long were you with this woman and her husband before he died?
Um, I believe that we were with her for up to 2 years at the most at one point, and then we got transferred somewhere else and sent back to her again. So over the years, we were with her 2 times at the length of time that we were in foster care.
So you were transferred from her care to another foster home or transferred back to the orphanage, or how'd that happen?
We were transferred to our grandfather family.
Okay, tell me about your grandfather.
He's a retired veteran. I don't know his age, but he took good care of us, and he's a good man.
What's his name?
Russell Hardy
And where does he live?
in Waco, Texas.
Okay, and that's where you all went to stay after you left Las Vegas?
Yes, sir.
And Tamor came with you, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about what life was like living in Waco.
We were allowed to be kids, and we were happy for the time span that we were out there. We were happier than we ever been as a kid in foster care or any of that stuff.
How did Tamor take it living with your grandfather?
He took it better. He started to get better grades and things like that. My grandpa was more involved in his school with his teachers and stuff like that. So eventually he did start to be better, do better and be happier, like a happier kid, more um extracurricular activities and just be a kid.
And about how long did this period of time last where you lived in Waco?
Um maybe a year or so.
What happened after that?
Um they took us from our grandfather's care and sent us back to Las Vegas to Child Haven.
When you say they, who was they?
CPS.
Child Protective Services?
Yes.
So you went back to Child Haven?
Yes.
Do you know why they sent you back to Child Haven from your grandpa's house?
They never really explained it to us as kids. They just said that we would be coming back, so that it was just temporary.
Did you come back?
No.
When you got to Child Haven, the second time, how long were you there for?
Just one day.
Okay, it was just one day. What happened after that?
They sent us to the same foster home that we lived in before.
The woman that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. What was it like when you went back to live with her?
It was the same. But I feel like this time we were older and we knew it was wrong. Like
What
we
was
learned
wrong?
like how she would treat us.
Help me understand that more when you say how she would treat you.
Um Maybe like physically abuse us and mentally abuse us and accuse us of things we didn't do and couldn't have done, or like 24-hour surveillance for us. Like it doesn't matter, we couldn't watch TV, have a phone, or nothing like that.
So are you saying that she hit you all?
She did.
Did she hit Tamor?
She did.
When you talk about mentally abusing you, you talked about not being able to leave. Is that what you mean, or do you mean something else?
I mean, just overall, because we were young and we were kids, so it was like a weird feeling with her because we wanted her to love us, but she was always disappointed at us, and we would get accused for things that we didn't even do. So it was just like I feel like that was like mental abuse because it was like we just wanted to earn her love, like be really respectful to her and not do anything wrong, but we would still end up in trouble.
What kind of things did she accuse you of doing or accuse Tamor of doing?
Maybe, well, it was every kid in the house, but maybe like picking at carpet, like if normal wear and tear on the carpet, if it's older, like maybe we did it, we picked it out the ground, or maybe like we scratched a scratch on a wooden furniture that's older and wear and tear. It was things like that.
You made it sound like it wasn't just you and the woman who took you in. Were there other people living in that house?
It was another other kids, they were all siblings. So 3 other kids that were all siblings.
Okay, were they her children or were they also adopted?
They were not her children. They were in foster care. She ended up adopting them.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I used that word adopted a little carelessly. Y'all weren't adopted, I take it?
No,
Okay, but she had adopted other children from the foster system?
we met them the first time we lived with her. The second time that we came back, she had adopted them and changed their names and everything like that.
I see. Okay. So how long did this last where you were back with the lady in Las Vegas?
Um, not I don't want to say it was a year.
Okay.
I don't want to say it was a year.
During that time period, did you have contact with any of your biological family?
This time we were allowed to occasionally talk to maybe our grandfather or our uncle visited us before one time. And so yeah, this time we were able to talk to family sometimes. Yeah,
Were you able to talk to your mom and dad?
not my mom, but my dad. Well, I don't even not even my dad. Maybe if I received a letter, but I don't think so ever. Not
Okay.
in her care.
Um, so you said that you were there with this woman again for about a year? Is that
The second time I feel like it was less than a year.
less than a year? Okay. What happened after that?
Um, we ended up telling a social worker about her treatment the last time we lived with her and how it was still going on this time. Because this time they let us have different type of workers that come and talk to us or take us somewhere to a park or anything. So this time we got closer with our workers and we let them know like everything that had been going on. So they switched us foster homes.
Okay. So the second time around, there were some social workers to oversee what was going on?
Right.
Okay. And based upon what you told to the social worker, what happened?
They removed us from her home,
Where'd y'all go?
a different foster home.
Okay. Tell me about that foster home.
Um, it was better. We lived there until we were not in foster care anymore
Where was that other foster home?
in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay. And do you all have any connection to Las Vegas, Nevada, besides that they took you to Child Haven and that's where you got put into the foster system?
No,
Okay. No relatives, no distant relatives?
no.
Okay. So you said that you lived with the second foster family until you were taken out of the foster system. What happened there to get you out of the foster system?
Our dad got out of prison and we were released into his care
And where was your dad living when he was released from prison?
in Arlington, Texas.
Okay. So that's where y'all went?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about what it was like to go to be with your father at that time.
Um, at first it was supposed to be happy, but um, it was a lot of abuse and things going on.
Okay. Abuse towards you, abuse towards Tamor.
Abuse towards both of us.
Tell us about it.
Um, about what he would do.
Yes.
Well, what do you call it? Maybe like his punishments were too big for like the thing. Like if we got bad grades, then we would be punished. Like he would. It started off by maybe the whoopings got worse and worser, and then now it's not a belt. Now it's 2x4, and we get a certain number of hits, and we get hit with it, and we have to lay there and we can't get up. And it was times when Tamar was younger than me, so Tamar was younger than me, and he would cry, and just maybe they would think he was over dramatic, so they would tie him down to an ironing board, strap him down, like stuff like that.
And you said that these were examples of over disciplining you both for things in the house?
Maybe bad grades, maybe like, yeah, just bad grades and stuff like that. We weren't bad kids to be doing any, like going and doing anything we didn't have any business. We were too young, and we moved around a lot to know what's going on in our outside world. We were just learning. So it would be stuff like bad grades and stuff like,
Were there ever any signs that you were being hurt this way or things that other people would notice?
yes,
Give me some examples.
bruises, busted lips, noses. It like people have witnessed before.
Did any of these things ever come to the attention of your teachers or other adults outside your house?
Tamar's teacher noticed.
Okay. What happened when she noticed?
I wasn't there the exact moment. A certain teacher took a like maybe noticed Tamar and built a relationship with him. And one day he had some type of bruising or something on his face. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a black eye or what, but the teacher ended up asking him, and he ended up being honest with her, and the school intervened, and they called our dad and our stepmom. Our stepmom came to the school, and they ended up talking to us, saying that we can't have any contact with our dad, and they just released us to her the same day.
Okay. But she was living in the same house as your dad or no?
Yes.
Yes, she was?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened after that?
Um, After that, then we went home with her, and they told Tamar we got in trouble, and they told Tamar that he had to say that he was lying.
Okay. Your dad and your stepmother pressured him to say he was making it up?
Yes.
Okay. So did CPS ever get back involved as a result of that, to your
No.
knowledge? How long did all this go on, living with your dad?
Um, until I was about 16, 17. By the time I was like 16 years old, then me and Tamar started to think about we didn't want to live with him anymore, and we wanted our mom to live with our mom.
Who was your
And
mom at this time?
I don't know where she was. We just were upset that everybody took us away from her. And then we just thought that we knew that she wasn't perfect, but just to have like wake up one day and your kids be ripped from you, or your kid or us being ripped from our mom, I felt like that wasn't helping her or us. Well, we felt like that.
So what did y'all do?
We started to think about living with our mom, or just living somewhere else around the time I was 16. And then by the time I turned 17, then we decided to leave.
So Tamar would have been how old around this time? 15, 16?
15.
Okay. You said you decided to leave?
Yes.
Did you leave?
Yes.
Where'd you go?
Um, we went to Corpus Christi with our mom after some time. Initially, we first left and we stayed here and there. And then we left Arlington to go to Corpus Christi after maybe like a month.
And that's where your mother was living?
Yes.
How long did you stay with your mom?
I stayed not even one night. I came and I brought Tamar, and then I left.
Okay. So when you took Tamar down there, did you tell your dad you were taking him?
No.
All right. You were trying to get him out of the house?
I felt like if I did not take Tamar and leave, then my dad would keep hitting us and he would get in trouble eventually. Somebody would notice, there would be nothing we could do about it, or he would hurt Tamar, or law enforcement would have to get involved and they would have no choice.
And last time that happened to your dad, what happened to you all?
We went to foster care.
So do you know how long Tamor was in Corpus Christi with his mom?
I want to say a month, maybe. I don't, or a month. It couldn't have been longer than 2 months.
Where did he go from there?
Back to Arlington, he stayed with a friend and their grandmother.
Okay. How long was he staying with them?
I'm not sure.
Did you ever get to meet the grandmother?
I don't think I never met her. I think I've been there, but she was elderly. I think I never met her.
Okay. How was Tamor behaving around that time?
I mean, he was all right. How he was behaving, he liked to make music and stuff like that. So he wasn't having behavioral problems.
Okay. Now, eventually, did something happen to that older lady that you mentioned that he was living with?
She passed away.
Okay. And what happened after that for Tamor?
Then he went with other friends, or like had to figure it out on his own after that. He bounced around a lot, didn't have a place to stay.
What was your opinion of the kind of company he was keeping after he left that older lady's house?
I knew that if the circumstances were different, he probably wouldn't be around the same people.
Okay, but as far as those people are concerned, I mean, you know that some of them were drug dealers, right?
Right.
Some of them were violent.
Sustained.
What sorts of things were the people he was hanging around with like, or what were they doing?
I didn't hang around them. I didn't like them. They didn't like me. So I didn't I knew that I didn't like the way they treated him sometimes, or like whatever was going on.
How'd they
And,
treat him?
Just not, those aren't your friends. I could just boil down to, you can just tell some people aren't really your friends or want better for you.
Well, are you saying they took advantage of him, or are you saying that they were a bad influence, or how do you
I
mean?
feel like so, because he was only 15 years old. And it's a bunch of grown people who are just,
So were these people older than Tamor?
yes,
Was it fair to say he was the youngest of that group of people?
yes,
And were these the types of people he was hanging around when he got arrested in Fort Worth?
yes.
Now, as far as the case in Fort Worth is concerned, are you a witness to any of the facts of that case? I mean, were you there for the case?
I was in trial.
You watched the trial?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what they're accusing him of doing specifically was?
They I know that he did not even have a weapon of any sorts, and he didn't harm anybody. And I know that he was 15 years old, and pretty much,
And you got to watch the trial unfold.
yes.
It's the court's understanding that you've reached a verdict. Is that correct? And is that verdict unanimous? All right, Deputy Laura. All right. It states that we unanimously find that the defendant, Tamar McIntyre, did not cause the death of Anthony Saldivar under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from adequate cause. It states that punishment to be assessed at 80 years in the prison, and there is no fine. Does anyone wish to have the jury polled?
Nothing to say, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm first going to start with your unanimous decision stating that there was no finding of sudden passion If that is your verdict, I'll need you to respond yes. Does everyone understand? Just one moment, counsel. Just give me one moment. Mr. McIntyre, I want you to know that I listened to all of the evidence in punishment and thought about whether or not your sentence should be stacked. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood. And I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I understand the state of the law, what people consider an adult. I listened to the testimony of the expert that was brought by defense counsel. You've already been sentenced to murder in the other county, and then you have a murder here. And the sentence for 55 years, that's a stiff sentence. This 80-year sentence is a stiff sentence. And these are cases where you have to serve half your time, and that's day for day time. And I recognize that. Hopefully you will grow, but based upon his age, based upon the number of years that he has received out of Tarrant County and the number of years that he's received here, based upon his history and the lack of any type of good parenting. From what I can tell, his mother wasn't a good parent to him. His father wasn't a good parent to him. Child Protective Services was not good. And if you believe the testimony, I don't know why Child Protective Services would place children back with a father who put the children's mother in the hospital. Is there something else that needs to be done with our society? Yes. Is more money need for Child Protective Services and their workers? Yes. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, any time that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased and that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison, they join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself, you're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D. And is there any, I don't know if there's any restitution? Cindy?